Is this your thing?
Okay, so we're going to talk about some things that we had trouble looking up. So Dalton just got done at basic camp for ROTC. And prior to him going to that, the amount of time spent trying to look up and be prepared for it was a little irritating. So we decided we would try and compress all the stuff that we learned and all the stuff that he went through into a video. So anybody that's getting ready to do ROTC basic camp at least knows exactly what to expect as of 2021. So without any further ado, so Dalton is a student at New Mexico Military Institute. He's going into the ROTC program, and he's only been back for 8 days from basic camp, so it should hopefully be pretty fresh on his mind. So I guess the easiest way to start off is just let's talk about what generally happens from, let's just start at arrival. So you fly to Louisville, right? Then from Louisville, how do you get to Fort Knox?
So you fly to Louisville, and then literally like right when we got off the plane, they were over the intercom telling that anybody that was going to Fort Knox for basic camp to meet down by like the entrance of the airport, and there was a bunch of second lieutenants and a captain waiting for us. And so they took from there, they checked us in and they screened us for COVID-19. Then they took our bags, and then we sat there for maybe an hour, and then we loaded up on a bus, and then we went to Knox. But when we got to Knox, they dropped all of our bags out, and then you got your assignment, you got your room assignment, you got your company assignment, and then you got your squad and platoon assignment. And then from there, you did a bag dump where they checked you, make sure you didn't have any contraband or anything like that. And then they issued you PTs, and then you went back to your room.
So PTs is basically shorts. What was your PTs?
Shorts, so it's a Army issued workout shirt that just says Army across the front, and then shorts. And then that's what you wore for the first 10 days there. So they issued you that, and then you went to your room, you met your roommates, and you got changed into PTs. And then that was the whole first day.
And what did you do with your luggage after you did the baggage dump? Then what happened with that?
You carry it with you to your room.
So you got your PTs, then you went up to your room, changed, and then stowed away all of your stuff, I assume?
Yeah, you unpack.
So that's the room you're going to stay in, basically?
Yes, you never change rooms the whole time you're there.
Okay. And then did you have to recheck for COVID once you got to Fort Knox, or did they?
So all through in processing, so basically your first few days are paperwork and finance and making sure that you're cleared medically through the DOD-MERB or your safe to train. And then day 3, they did another COVID screening. And then they tested you there, and then that starts your 10-day COVID period, which is just learning basic DNC, you meet your drill sergeants, and you get used to the military.
Okay, so for non-military people, what does DNC stand for?
Drill and ceremony. So you learn to march, you learn your facing, and then you learn salute, you learn the times, you learn your customs and courtesies, like what to address, how to call to attention if a officer walks by, to call at ease when a NCO walks by.
So is this done in a classroom, or is this done outside? How is that?
It's done through, it's not really a class, but so they take you down, we have this place called the Pit, and it's a big podium with like a rubber floor to it, and then we practiced DNC for like 8 hours a day, because during COVID you can't do any of the real training, you don't have any equipment besides PTs, so your drill sergeants just made you learn customs, courtesies, and DNC for the first 10 days.
Okay, so that's your first 10 days. So I know when I had talked to you on, because you had your phone and you could text me at night, and I had talked to you at one point, and you were thinking there might be a possibility you don't have real drill instructors, right? That was the rumor going around with the cadets?
Yeah, so New Mexico Military Institute, they told us that they're not like your basic training drill instructors, which they weren't, but they were still intense, and they are there to teach you discipline.
And
So-
what day, how many days did you have at Fort Knox before?
2.
2 days, and then
And
the
then-
actual drill instructors came.
So the first 2 days went by, you got your COVID screening, and then the next day, they marched us out in the morning to a big field, and then all the drill instructors lined up, and they gave their creed, and then they each went to their assigned platoons. So that's when I got my drill instructor, and I met my senior drill instructor, and then they, pretty much from there on out, they're the ones in charge of you.
Okay, so then you spend the next 10 days doing drill and ceremony, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then everybody's COVID tests come back within that 10 days.
Yes.
And then what happens when you actually, so now you've cleared COVID, you're physically gonna start training, right? That's what's next. So what happens after, I assume you're no longer wearing PT gear, and how are you cleaning your PT gear during the 10 days? What are you
So
doing
you're
with
given
that?
2 sets,
Okay,
and you have to figure out a way. You just basically have to decide if that day you went through anything where you had to wash it or not.
so you're just trying to figure out what's fresher, and then you do get a chance to wash your clothes?
Yes, there is laundry. So there's, in my barracks on my floor, there was 5 laundry machines for 52 people. So you kind of get a schedule with your room
Okay.
when you want to do it.
Okay, so you can do your laundry, you gotta kind of rotate your PT gear, do the smell test or whatever on it, right? And then 10 days goes in, and now you have your drill instructors. I assume you start wearing what type of uniform?
Well, first what happens is you get, so basically right at day 10, when they declare that everyone's negative, they take you for another test, but that's just to be safe. You don't have to wait on anything for that. And then your next step is the armory, where you get your rifle that rifle will be with you for the rest of the time that you're there. You'll check it out the day right before you leave. And you have to memorize the serial number, and you're not given any magazines, you're just given a BFA and a rifle. And then the day after that, you go to CIF, and you get everything that you need for the next,
And CIF means?
I don't know, it's just your issued stuff. So they give you your camouflage uniforms, they give you your rucksack, assault pack, camelback, helmet, gloves, eye pro, boots if you need them, but I do recommend bringing your own boots that are already broken in. We had a lot of problems. Like, I brought my own boots, and I was very lucky because the first, maybe till the end of group camp, people were still dealing with blisters because they don't have the right boots, because they were still trying to break them in throughout the whole time at camp. So you're issued, and then that starts your tactical phase, and then
After you get issued
Yeah,
your
after you get
uniforms and your rifle. What
Right.
type of rifle do they issue you?
so for basic camp, it's only M4s.
Okay, so you get your M4, you carry that around, then you slowly, I guess within those 2 days or so, you get your uniforms and you transition from the PT gear to wearing uniforms.
It's only 1 day.
Oh, okay.
So you're given, so that first, the next, so you're issued, and then the next day is a big, it's a stressful time for everybody because everyone starts losing stuff, because you're building your flick and you're putting together your rucksack, and so everyone's trying to learn how to do that, and at the same time you're putting all your stuff in your inventory to make sure that you have everything. And we had people missing things, so you would, when you finish, you would take your stuff back up to your room, but then someone would tell the drill sergeant that they're missing something. So you bring everything back down and you dump it out to make sure that you're not the one that has extra stuff. So we had to do that a few times, so that day was pretty interesting. But then basically right after that, for the next week maybe, it's basic riflemanship.
Okay, which entails basic riflemanship is, learning how to march with your weapon, doing what, like I'm sure some type of counting drills or something like that, like present arms,
Yeah, so you
quarter
learn
arms.
You learn that day 1, and then you're just expected to know it, because then it goes into your actual field marksmanship. So then the next 3 days are learning how to zero, how to get a sight picture, and rifle safety. And so you're doing that small stuff, and then they take you to, I want to say after that they take you to the zeroing range and you get your rifle zeroed.
So are you shooting at the zero range?
Yes, you're actually
Okay.
shooting. So you're shooting at the zero range, and then you're getting.
So they're giving you magazines, I assume, at this point.
No, they give you. You never have magazines with you unless you're on the field.
So you only get them if you're out actually on the range.
The range will give you a rifle.
And then afterwards you leave them at the range?
Yeah, you leave your magazines at the range, and then so you get your sight pictures, and you get your zero, and you practice grouping, and then a couple of days go by where you're just learning about the qualification course. So the Table 6 qual is the new qual that's been instated. So like I had cadre that hadn't even done it when I went through it. So you're basically shooting at a pop-up range from anywhere to 50 to 300 meters, and you have to switch between. So you start in standing, and then you go to prone, unsupported, prone supported, kneeling supported, and then standing supported, and targets range between 50 to 300 meters. And then, but for basic camp, you don't have to qualify. So if you're worried about that, then you can get practice, and it looks better on your evaluation if you do qualify. But it's not mandatory. It's just that you attempted to qualify for basic camp. But when you get to advanced camp, it's a must qualify.
You have to qualify. So you had told me on some of the events that you were getting, basically it was not a pass or fail, it was something attempt. What was it?
It was attempt, so it's a no or no go thing, but it's basically if you, basically any of the events throughout basic camp, it's an attempt or did not attempt. So for the 6 mile ruck, if you attempted it and you only went 2 miles, then
you can still
technically
technically pass.
But it also doesn't look good on your evaluation because it shows that you didn't make it the full way.
Gotcha. Okay, so then you've done all your processing. Now you got your weapon. You're at the range. You do your zeroing. What comes after? So this is within what, a week of being there? This is basically you've been there for 10 days, and then this is your first week is rifle zeroing.
Yeah, it's all of your
all has to do with weapons, right?
All of your marksmanship is that phase.
So that's the first week of actual training.
Of actual training.
Okay, so then after you do marksmanship, what's the tempo, just so people know? So what time are you getting up in the morning?
It ranges. So it basically depends how late they keep you out at night. But if you're up, and the basic day, which is the majority of the days, was you went to bed at 22 and you woke up at 04. And then you had your varying formation times based off of what uniform you wear too. So if it was like...
So you're going to bed at 9 o'clock and you're getting up at 4 a.m.
So you're given hygiene time basically from 8:30 to 10, and then you sleep lights out from 10, and then you go through the night, and then 4 o'clock you're up again.
Okay. And okay, so are the drill instructors, would you say during this phase, you said earlier they're pretty intense, but I mean, are they intense to a point where they're like pulling people out, PTing them, making them,
Yeah, if you're doing stuff wrong. So they're not, with basic camp, it's not at the degree that basic training is, but they're still there to discipline you. So don't take it like they're there and you're like protected under anything, because you still can be disciplined for a lot of things. And,
gotcha.
But so this whole COVID and that whole COVID time when you're getting the first 10 days, that's your red phase. So basically the drill sergeants, they're varied with control. So the red phase is very controlled, and they're always on you. They're always screaming at you, trying to get you to be used to the discipline. And then you move on to blue phase, which they're still on you and making sure that you're on time and on schedule and stuff, but they're more there to teach you.
Like an advisor.
Yeah, they're more of
like a teacher.
Yeah, they're a teacher, but they still can discipline you.
Right.
Whenever
If you're a jack up, they're gonna jack you up. Right?
Yeah. So if you're late to formation, or you're not wearing the correct uniform, or your uniform's done incorrectly, they can still discipline you.
Okay. So then we go through blue phase. Is that what you said? Or red phase is
Red
the
phase is
COVID,
your COVID.
and then what phase is marksmanship in?
That's in your blue phase. So
Okay.
your blue phase consists of marksmanship and land navigation.
Okay, so after, that's where we're at then, right? So you've just finished doing your grouping. Next you did land nav.
Yes. So
And is land nav done from, how do you end up on the land nav course, and what does it entail?
So the first few days of land nav, you're still at barracks and you're in a classroom learning about land navigation and map reading. So then you get your practice there and you get your pace count there. But then you march, I want to say it was 3 miles. So you ruck 3 miles and then you're on the land nav course. And it's a big, it's like a tent city, but not really, because it's more just like there and it's full of people. Because that's the official land nav course. Like they're there only to teach land nav. So then your first day there is you're getting like a review on map reading and like pace counting, and then you're getting your safety briefs and stuff for the forest, because a lot of those kids hadn't been in the forest before. So you're learning that, and then you have
They're telling you what looks like poison ivy, what to do if you get lost, all that kind of stuff, right?
And then you kind of have a handheld course, so you're given, so one of your MS3s from your platoon will go with you and like a group of 10, and you'll find only 2 points, and then that's it for that day. But you're sleeping in the field, like it's not
After the first 3 days.
no after your first day.
Okay.
So this is the land nav course. It's different than the FTX, but so you're in the field. So we were already setting up a patrol base.
So let me just back it up real quick. So you spent how many days in barracks training in the classroom for land nav?
2.
2 days there, and then from there you ruck to the field, which is where the land nav course is at. And then you have an MS3, which is a cadet who's already been through basic camp, basically.
And advanced camp. They
And
just
advanced
finished
camp. So he's almost an officer. He's over there helping you guys out, right? And then you also have your drill instructors, and what else as far as cadre is out there to help you?
That's pretty much it. They have a team of the land navigation course. Like
That's
range,
what they do.
Yeah, it's the range safety. They're there to make sure that you're not.
Okay, so you go out the first day, you go out in group, and you have to find 2 points, right?
And it's just kind of familiarizing yourself with actual land navigation instead of just map reading.
Okay.
So you do that, and then you go back to your patrol base, and
Which is Tent City.
no,
Oh, okay.
your patrol base is sleeping in the forest in your sleeping bags.
Oh, okay.
And then the second day is your day land nav course, which is you and a group of 2 others. So it's a group of 3, and you're given a map and 2 grid coordinates, and you have to go out and find those. And then you find those, report back. You have a time frame, and then you basically chill out until dark, and then you do your night land nav, which is the same group, but you're given 2 different grid points, and you have to go find those, and then you report back in that time frame, and then you go to sleep. And I think we ended up going to sleep at night at like 2 in the morning, and we had a 6:30 wake up.
Right. Okay. And then so land nav is, you either do that, so you pass or fail again. It's
Yeah,
an
it's still
attempt
a
thing.
temp.
So what's the next? So this is all still in blue phase?
Yes, it's still blue phase.
Okay, and is that it for blue phase? Is it over now after nav?
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, so then you
Right. I assume you go back to the barracks after this.
wait, blue phase. So yeah, so you go back to the barracks, you ruck back 3 miles, and then you're in your R&R period, which is when you're getting ready for the final FTX, when you're learning about squad tactics. But while you're still at barracks, you're getting supplies from the PX that you need, and you're just at the barracks for a little bit longer. But during that period, you're doing your obstacle course, FLRC, and high ropes course.
That's what you're doing while you're at the barracks during that time?
Yeah, that's in 2 days. You're doing all that.
So you come back from land nav and you have how many days of R&R?
2.5.
So in
go
that
back
2.5 days, are you actually doing a rope course, an obstacle course during that 2.5 days?
Yes.
Okay, so you come right back from land nav and then straight to obstacles and the rope course, which is the one where you're up in the air and everybody has.
High ropes is where you're learning about being confident in your equipment, and you're walking across 50-foot high rope and you're climbing things that most people are uncomfortable with, and you're just learning to be comfortable and to just do it with, like, you might still be scared doing it, but you need to show confidence doing it.
And you have to have faith in your equipment that it's going to take care of you, basically.
Yes. So you tie your own harness. You're responsible for transferring your own lobster claws from rope to rope, and then so it's basically teaching you that if you fall, it's your fault. But it's also teaching you that you need to be confident in what you do with your own equipment.
And what would you say the percentages of people that had problems with that?
So everybody completed the high ropes course, and then you have a thing called the Alpine Tower, which is a big tower that has a bunch of different ways that you can go up it. And people struggle with that because it's a bit more physical than the high ropes course, and then a lot of people had physical problems with the rock wall climb, which it's like a 100-foot rock wall that of course you're tied to your belay and you're climbing up it, but it's still, like, I had trouble physical, but I still did it. But we had a lot of people that only made it like a quarter or halfway up, but since they attempted it, it still counts as a pass.
Right. Okay. So then the 2.5 days of R&R, you go ahead and knock out obstacle course, ropes course, the high ropes course, the rock wall challenge,
And your FLRC.
and the FLRC, which is what?
Which is your leadership course. So it's your future leadership course or something like that. And it's basically, you go station to station, and it's a obstacle setup, and you're with your squad, and someone's assigned that they're team leader, and they're responsible for briefing you and coming up with a plan to solve a problem. So like an example is there's 2 halves to a bridge and the middle is gone, and you're given 2 sets of rope and an ammo can, and you have to figure out how to get your squad in that ammo can across. So I'm not going to give away names.
It's basically problem solving.
Yeah, it's basically problem solving.
So you did all of this in 2.5 days?
Yes.
Okay. So what happens after the 2.5 days? That's it, right? After you do that,
Then
that's
that's
that
the end of
phase.
blue phase. Yes.
That's the end of blue phase.
So then you go to, it's not white phase, it's something else, but it's basically your run phase, and the whole run phase is your final FTX, and that's where it gets a little complicated. So it's 5 days in total, and 3 of those days is, so you're totally, basically your drill sergeants and your second lieutenants, they're not with you for those 5 days. You're with the tactics committee, and my tactics committee was Tactics Team Eagle. So for 3 days, you are learning. So the first day you're learning like the basics, you're learning your TMKs, and you're learning react to indirect fire.
Okay, so this isn't actually physically running. What you're talking about is you're running like platoon tactics, right? Or squad tactics.
Yeah, so you're just walking through it and learning it on the first day.
And this is done at barracks, or this is done in the field?
This is done in the field. So they have their own
area?
Yeah, their own area.
How far would you say you had to ruck to get to that?
We were bused. But
Okay.
that was,
So it's a long ways.
yeah, so it's 6 miles, because you ruck, so at the end of your FTX, your 6 mile
Ruck.
is back from that.
Gotcha.
So the first day you're learning just your walk through squad tactics. You're learning what goes where, who goes where. You're learning if there's a mortar, what to do, what to call out. You're learning how to build a TMK, and you're learning just basic stuff like that. You're learning face paint, stuff like that.
So if anybody's trying to figure out all these acronyms, I mean, you're going to have to just go back and search them and figure it out, because the video will be 6 hours long if we break down everything. So I apologize about the acronyms. go learn them so you know your own military jargon and everything. Anyway, so you're doing TMK.
So you go through that, and then the second day, it's a little bit more advanced. So you're given blanks, and you're actually learning how to put the plans that you learned the day before into action. So now you're walking through a forest, and they're throwing mortar sims to see what you do. They're not really telling you what to do. They're more seeing you, and then they'll bring you back afterwards and walk you through what to do and stuff like that. And then you're learning.
So they're seeing what you're doing, then they're basically coming back and advising you what you did or didn't do.
Right, so they're still teaching you. None of this is being evaluated.
I gotcha.
So then your third day is you're actually learning the three, what are they called? Battle games or something like that. And so it's ambush, reactive fire, and your, so basically your flank. So you're learning how to set up, basically what you would do in different situations. So one of the scenarios we had is that there's a outpost out there, you just don't know where it is. So you're walking through the forest, and then when you get that reactive fire, then you set up, and you know who's on point, you know who's getting online, and you know who's setting up the flank. And then you're learning how to set up an ambush, so you're learning how to set up who to set up where, your support by fire teams, you're learning about leaders recon, you're learning about your security and observation teams, you're learning how to set up, how to exfil.
How physically challenging is this while you're out there?
This one isn't.
Would you say it's kind of a slower pace?
It's pace, but it's physically uncomfortable because you're kind of getting used to like
being outdoors,
being out in the field. So you're getting used to like laying and having like spiders crawl across you and stuff like that, and getting dirty because you have to have face paint on every morning.
Right.
And this whole 3-day period of just learning, you're in Tent City. So it's this big. It's just a bunch of big tents that can sit like 12 with concrete floors, and you're going back there and sleeping there, and then you're getting up in the morning.
You sleep on cots?
No, you don't sleep on cots.
You just sleep on the ground?
You sleep on the concrete.
On the slab?
Which I recommend. They will issue you a sleeping mat, and a lot of people didn't bring it because they didn't want the weight, but it became very useful.
Especially sleeping on concrete.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go through that. Now you've done your squad tactics, you've practiced ambush, flanking, and then what goes on after that?
And then your 2 days, you're turned over to an evaluation team. So my evaluation team was tactics team Badger, and you're bused to a completely different site. That way you don't know what's going on. So they got us there, and then they sat us down, and they gave us the speech about what was going on. So they have like this big
like what the scenario is.
Yeah, they give you like this big scenario, like there's a war going on, and that you are U.S. soldiers that come to assist. So then you meet. So you're like basically told what everyone's role is. Like there's a real Op 4 that they bring in, and like they show you them, so you know their uniform is basically just a black shirt with OCP pants, and then you're shown what they have and what they do, and you are told that they are known to use mortars. They're known to change positions if they're under fire,
and these are like basically your enemy force.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then you go, and then you're given over to your cadre, but it's not your drill sergeants and stuff like that. It's
whoever's grading you.
Yeah, it's your. So I had Captain A and then a bunch of second lieutenants that they march us. So for mine specifically, is they break you up by platoons, and you will stick with your squad within your platoon for the whole 2 days that you're out there doing the tactics. So then you go and you set up a patrol base, and then you are given the basics of a patrol base, how to set up a patrol base, how to set up an objective rally point, how to survey an objective, and that way they're just like re-giving you the basics before you actually do it. So then you go to sleep that night, and this is day 3 out of the 5. So then the next day, there's 3 missions that you do, and you rotate throughout the missions in each day. But the first day is
Now, do you guys rotate who the leader is during these
yes.
missions?
So
Okay.
our MS3s stuck with us, and they would assign who was who. So you're given 2 team leaders and a squad leader, and then squad leader briefs their team leaders, and the team leaders are responsible for giving the same information back to their teams.
Okay.
And then you're learning. So the squad leader will set up a TMK.
This is day 4.
This is day 4, yes. So you're learning about all of that and pointing it out, and then basically after that you start your missions. And for me, it started with ambush, and then it was I can't remember the word, but so you set up your support by firing your assaulting team, and you're assaulting a mortar pit, and then it's called squad assault. So you set up your squad assault, squad ambush, and your reactive fire. Those are the 3 stations that you do. But for this first day that you're out there doing it actually against an Op 4, you're given blanks, you're given 3 mags worth of blanks, and you go and you do them all. And you are given an AAR after every one for the first day, because they kind of guide you through, and they kind of like, so the squad leader, the way it worked is that we would go out.
And an AAR is basically
after action.
right. It's them telling you what they thought you did, what you did wrong, what you could do better.
Right. So, but for this first day, the second lieutenants are with you, and they're kind of asking you stuff. So like, if your squad leader said they want to set up their ORP here, then they might be like, oh, why do you want to do that if that space over there is way better? So it's guided throughout the first day, because it's the first time you're actually going against an Op 4, and you're actually like in charge of your own squad. So, and then you knock out all 3 of those missions, and you're kind of learning.
Now you go to day 5.
Yeah, so then it's day 5, where they don't give you any input while it's going on. You still get an AAR afterwards, and the Op 4 is also more aggressive, and there's a chance there might be more of them. So like if there was 1 patrol on the ambush
On day
on
4.
day 4, then there might be 3 on the next one.
So they're trying to make it to where you're not
They're ramping
predisposed to knowing what's going to happen.
They're ramping up the difficulty so to see how you would react.
Okay.
So then you do your 3 more complicated that way, and then this takes all day, because it pretty much takes 3 to 4 hours of mission, because you're slowly setting up your stuff and you're slowly going through the motions. And then you go to sleep that night, and then we woke up at 2 the next morning, and then you do your 6-mile ruck back, and that's the last event you do in basic camp. And then after that, it's all you're out finance, you're giving back all your equipment, and then you're doing practice for graduation pretty much for the next however days you have left.
So let me ask you this: during this whole time, you didn't mention anything about doing a PT test.
That's during blue phase. So you
Okay.
you do a CCFA, and then you do your APFT diagnostic. So you do your CCFA just so they can kind of get a gist of how you are physically, and then you do your APFT diagnostic, which you're not actually doing the APFT, you're just going through and trying out the events to see what you need to work on when you go back to your home base.
Right.
And basically, because the APFT is a new instated Army fitness test.
Right. So the new fitness test is the squats, the dumbbell carry.
So you do your sprint and drag carry, which you're pulling a tire and carrying an ammo can and sprinting. You're doing your fly push-ups. You're doing a leg tuck. You're doing your deadlift, and then you're doing a ball throw and a 2-mile run.
And a 2-mile run. And then when you guys did the APFT, it was an abbreviated version, right?
Yeah. So you're supposed to do like the base stuff. So like if they just lined you up, and then they're like for example, the minimum to pass leg tuck is 1. So they line you up and you do 1 leg tuck, and they're like, cool, and then you move on to the next station. And then for the deadlifts, the minimum weight is 140. So they pull up 140, and you do that 3 times, and then you're on to the next station. But you don't have to do the run.
You don't have to do the run at all?
No, you don't even do the 2-mile run. You do a 1 mile run for the CCFA.
So you did a 1 mile run timed event.
Yeah, so the CCFA
That was the next day after the APFT or before the
before
APFT?
the APFT.
Okay.
Because you're actually recorded for the CCFA. So you have to do your 40 push-ups, 45 sit-ups, and a minute or a mile run in under 8 minutes.
So it's basically taking the old standard one and dividing it by 2.
Yes.
And you're going to do it instead of having 2 minutes, you have 1 minute
Yes.
to do your sit-ups, push-ups, and then your run, instead of being timed on a 2 mile run, you're being timed on a 1 mile run.
Right. Because it's your cadet core fitness test.
So then at the end, you're saying you came back from the field from doing your small squad tactics, and then you start practicing for dress rehearsal, basically for graduation, right?
Right.
And then you're checking out your uniforms, you're getting back with finance to make sure you get paid for while you were there, and you got paid roughly about what?
$1,000. It was roughly over $1,000. It's based off of your tax.
Okay, so depending on where you live, that's how you get paid. But you made a little bit over $1,000. You made like about $1,100 or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you do get paid while you're there, which is kind of nice, right? And then as far as downtime during this whole time, what would you say? You know, is Sunday a day off or is Sunday a day on?
The whole thing, you barely have any days off. It's basically your only days off are your final days at the end when you're cleaning your rifles and you're cleaning all your equipment, because like for me, I didn't have an issue. I just cleaned it and then I was done, but people were still struggling to clean stuff. So like me and my roommates would just sit there and talk while everyone else was still cleaning my stuff.
Did you make pretty good friends while you were up there?
Yeah, you make pretty good friends for like how little time you actually know each other. You get pretty close.
Right, because there's something about that, you know. When you're training with somebody and you're going through hard times, it's amazing how close you'll get with them. So I know that before you went, we kind of ramped you up. You were running quite a bit. You were doing the physical stuff quite a bit. And then what would you say the physical aspect, would you say, like, you know, the 6 mile ruck, the 1 mile run, would you say it was easy for you?
It was pretty easy for me. Well, so the majority of people like should pass basic camp because it's not even close to as physically challenging as advanced camp's going to be. So for the people who don't make it through the physical aspect of basic camp, you really need to work on your just physical side of everything, because when you get to advanced camp, you're going to do an 8, a 10, and a 12 mile ruck. So if you can't knock out a 6,
you're going to have problems.
Then, yeah, you're going to have a lot of problems.
So for prepping, you obviously were more than you're a football player. You also ran every day. You practiced for your physical stuff. And then what stuff did you have prior to, and what stuff did you find was extreme? I know that when we sent you with tons of stuff, but what would you say was the stuff that helped you and and if you didn't need it, don't even talk about it.
So boots, you want to either have a pair of good boots that aren't issued, or you want to have a pair of issued boots that are broken in, very well broken in.
And now if you go buy your own boots, you need to make sure they're military standards, obviously. You can't just buy some boots and show up. They have to be military standards.
So like your Garmonts, your Under Armour, and your Nikes,
right,
and your Rockies are pretty standard. That's what was pretty much around.
That everybody was using?
Right.
And you went with a pair of Garmonts?
I went with a pair of Garmont tees.
And did you have any problems with them?
No, not at all. They were probably one of the best. That's why I say it first, because that's probably the most helpful thing that got me through basic camp.
And they're a lighter boot.
They're lighter, so
I know that we compared them to the ones they issued you, and they're quite a bit lighter.
Yeah, so they're lighter, so they help you with the ruck, and they're easy to break in, so you don't have to worry about blisters. I didn't get blisters the whole time I was up there.
And what else did you have that helped you thought?
I specifically, not a lot of people had it, but I had special socks. So I had fatigue fighter socks, and I had moisture wool socks. So while you're out in the field, like for my land nav course, it rained the whole time we were up there. So people were having problems with having to change socks every 6 hours. And so
one fly, huh? It's annoying.
I was lucky to have that, because it's another thing with blisters is that if you have socks that are too loose, like the enlisted socks are, they're going to cause blisters because of the friction. And also bring a lot of baby powder.
Right. So you took Gold Bond, you had baby powder, you had Fatigue Fighter socks, which we got online if anybody needs to get the Fatigue Fighter socks. And basically, it's a compression sock that also dries extremely fast. The towels we got you like those. We got him microfiber green towels that he really came in handy. And just so you know, they don't ever get stinky. They have something in them. What is it, like silver or something's in them to keep them anyway? They dry really fast and they don't smell.
They dry fast, and when you roll them up, they take up loads.
Yeah, they're very easy to rug.
When you're packing your rug, they're pretty easy to store.
Pillow, you took a blow-up pillow.
I took an inflatable pillow, which helped during the field.
Right, because he could actually take his pillow to the field where other people couldn't, right? And then, so you had your gauntlets, your Fatigue Fighter socks. We got you special wool socks that didn't retain moisture. What else? What else was like something that you felt like because you had it gave you an advantage over people that didn't have it?
So they issued you, well actually they didn't. So I had a Ranger handbook, which was extremely useful because once I started reading that, I started to notice that a lot of what the Army teaches you is right out of the Ranger handbook. It's cited out of the Ranger handbook. So the more you can study that and you know what's going on before, the better you look during camp, but the more proficient you are at the things that they're teaching you. So I already knew my squad formation, and I already knew my react to fire, and I already knew my squad assault before we even started talking about it because I was reading my Ranger handbook.
Right. And did they issue a Ranger handbook when you got there? I saw they gave you some abbreviated looking thing.
My school gave me one, but not everybody's school will give you one.
So Nini gave you one?
Yes.
But it wasn't as detailed as the one you had?
It's the same thing, but it's
like
more compressed. Yeah, it's more compressed because it's a smaller book that has smaller words and they fit like 3 pages on one page.
Yeah. And you're not going to learn that book. So basically his prep before going to basic camp was 5 days military familiarization basically, and if he would have only had that handbook from that point, it would have been pretty hard to learn. So having that ahead of time obviously helped quite a bit, right?
Right.
Because I know you'd spend 30 minutes a day or something just reading through it, and if you had downtime there you would read through it, and that's kind of gave you an unfair advantage, right?
Right.
So boots, Fatigue Fighter socks, keep your feet right. Baby powder. Why the baby powder? Is because of humidity?
Yeah, so the humidity and sweat is that a lot of people have problems with heat rash, especially under their shirt, and then it also keeps moisture off of your feet so you don't get athlete's foot or you don't get blisters that way. But mainly for heat rash because you're going to get it on your back and under your arms really bad if you don't keep up on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then once you have a heat rash, obviously you're not pulled from physical training, so now you're suffering.
Right, because it's just burning, like especially if you're wearing your vest, it's on your back.
And rubbing.
And you can feel it.
Yeah.
I had someone in my squad that had heat rash. It was pretty bad.
And then when we were going, one of the things that we were worried about was insects, obviously. You mentioned spiders walking across you, so what was the insect situation like?
They issue you bug repellent, but the problem with the bug repellent is it doesn't keep ticks off. So I had max D, which is 100% D, and that only took 1 spray on each of my entrances, and I didn't have any problems with ticks.
So you put like it on your cuffs of your sleeves,
and then the cuffs of your
and then the cuffs of your boots,
and then
around your neck,
and then I had no problems with ticks, but other people did because they were using just regular insect repellent.
So the ticks are pretty bad at Fort Knox.
Yes.
And it's, I guess it depends. I guess everybody goes during the summer, so it's obviously very humid and hot, and the baby powder or Gold Bond helped with that.
Right.
Anything else that you can think of?
No, not really.
I know you already knew how to tear down an AR-15 and all that stuff, so you had to, but that's just because you grew up around here.
Right.
So that's about it. So physically going, it's not very hard, even though they say, it's going to be a pass or fail type situation, or it's not rather going to be a pass or fail situation. It's going to be, did you attempt to do it? Did you attempt to do the mile run? Did you attempt to go find the stuff on the land nav course? Did you attempt the ropes? All that kind of stuff, right? Easy to make friends. The cadre seems like they're pretty good people.
Right. Yeah, they're very good people.
And then when
they're focused on your training.
right. And they're basically, so everything that you're doing in basic camp isn't going to be graded like it is when you go to advanced camp, which is next summer.
Advanced camp, they're very hands-off with everything. There's no drill sergeants or anything like that. They're there just to see what...
Just to score you, basically. And advanced camp goes in your OML, right?
Right, advanced camp. So, so basically, advanced camp is a huge part of your OML because it shows the actual training that you've had throughout your ROTC career.
So even though you're not being graded on a pass or fail situation, you should get good at everything that you're doing because you are eventually going to be graded on every single aspect of it.
Right. So if you don't try basic camp, then you're going to get complacent with it, and then you're going to, because whatever you learn at basic camp is basically the same thing you'll do in advanced camp, but advanced camp is going to be graded.
So if anybody out there is a cadet or thinking about joining an ROTC, and you have any questions about basic camp, you can just simply drop a comment and I'll get it to Dalton and he can get you an answer on it. And if you have any problems with any of the abbreviations or anything like that, drop a comment, we'll get it to Dalton. And if you subscribe, we will follow him as he goes through. He's going to be going to advanced camp next, we'll follow that. Obviously he's fixing to leave to go to college and do his ROTC. He's going to a military college, so if you have any questions about New Mexico Military Institute, you can let us know that as well, and Dalton can get you back an answer. So make sure you subscribe, follow along. Any final words that you would tell somebody?
Just be prepared. It's all going to be uncomfortable, but it's more the fact that you do it and get over it than sitting there complaining about it.
Just suck it up.
Right.
And there's plenty of people there sucking it up with you, so it's not like you're doing it by yourself. Just follow the group and do what the group does, right?
Right. So your whole platoon is going through the same stuff. So if you sit there and worry about what's wrong with yourself, then that's not showing good traits of a leadership because you're only focused on what's wrong with you.
Exactly. So again, like, subscribe. If you have any questions for Dalton, just put them in the comment section. We'll get them over to you and we'll get you an answer. We won't leave you hanging. And go get physically ready and make sure that you are practicing. Go get the Ranger book, save up, buy you some nice boots because it's going to make a difference. You can get the Fatigue Fighters on Amazon, it's no big deal. And that's about it, right?
Right.
All right, thanks for watching. That's just a debrief on basic camp. If you have any questions or you think we missed something, like I said, feel free to leave it in the comments. And we hope everybody has a good day. Until then, I guess it's, what do you guys say? Go Army? What do you guys say? Is there an Army saying that you say?
Yeah, but we're not allowed to say it.
You're not allowed to say it? It's like a top secret thing?
No, our second lieutenant didn't let us say it.
Well, there you go. So anyway, what is it? Army Strong? Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
it's
Be
just
Army
Army
Strong. All right, be Army Strong. Thank you guys for watching.